Morning, Shirley.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Shirley, founder of the Menopause Chicks, has recently been interviewed in the media about a really important study that was released just the other day by the Canadian Medical Association in regards to a topic that is a hot topic, and a lot of women are really on the fence about it still. I feel like there's not enough information about it, but now with this new study, there's hope, and that is a study on hormone replacement therapy. Can you tell me a little bit about what this study is?
Yeah, well, it's interesting. So, as you said, it's released by the Canadian Medical Association. So, I see that as a message to their 75,000 members in Canada. And so, in that respect, I think it's good news because the more physician awareness, the more that we can have women's health at the top of the physician agenda. Good news. I think what we need to understand, though, is that this is not new news. There is nothing that's new here. It is a curation of over 50 research papers. And so it's a way that have good information about hormone therapy and the options that are available to women has now been repackaged. And as of Monday, it's been distributed to 75,000 physicians plus, the general public, because it's been on all the major channels this week, which is amazing.
Yeah, and hard to ignore. I think I feel a little more comfort knowing that this is a curation of 50 studies and not just from one study. It's good to
Oh, for
know
sure.
that this information is coming to us from years of research and feedback. And now that it is in our physicians' hands, um, how many physicians do you think are actually going to read this?
Yeah, I'm really worried on a few levels.
Okay, that
I'll try to summarize those concerns. Concern number one is when I first read the study, it focused on hot flashes or vasomotor symptoms, which is the name that we that is the appropriate name for hot flashes and night sweats.
Mhm.
And hot flashes and night sweats are symptoms, but there's not a lot in the study or even on the news this week about the root cause. So we're
Yeah.
not, we've missed this again. We've missed this opportunity to inform women about actually what's happening. Hormones fluctuate, then they decline, progesterone first, followed by estrogen. This is how your body works when your cycles are regular. These are the experiences that may happen to you. And when they do happen to you, it's like a tap on the shoulder. It's like the check engine light coming on. If we had everybody just realizing that hot flashes were like a check engine light and that they could then investigate, get curious, have conversations, not just with their doctor, but with the people in their lives, their friends,
Mhm.
that would be like, ooh, that would be gold star for me. So when I read the study, I was like, okay, it feels again like we're reinforcing that menopause equals hot flashes. And
Yeah.
that's not necessarily the case. Not everyone experiences hot flashes.
Yes.
Most women that do experience hot flashes do so in the final year of perimenopause, as you're counting down that 12 consecutive months. Some women do experience hot flashes for 5, 7, 10 years longer, but the good news again in the study and what we're hearing and learning again is that there are easy viable solutions and that they're safe and they're recommended because women
Yeah.
deserve quality of life. So that's a gold star moment. But hormone therapy is approved for three things: the treatment of vasomotor symptoms, the treatment of genitourinary syndrome of menopause, a phrase it's a mouthful. It's hard to get around,
I'm
and
glad
no
you
one
had to
really
say
knows
it.
what that means. So it's an umbrella term that includes vaginal dryness, vaginal atrophy, incontinence, pelvic floor dysfunction like prolapse, recurring UTIs, bladder health, urethra, everything in the pelvic floor. But hormone therapy is approved for the treatment of vaginal dryness as a result of vaginal atrophy. And when we prioritize that, we have this opportunity for women to prevent all of those things that I just listed.
Yes.
That's not clear in the report. I think it got a one mention. And the third thing is that hormone therapy is approved for the prevention of bone loss. And you and I have talked about this before. I mean, bone loss is silent and
Yes, it is.
it's not sexy.
No.
So nobody, I don't think anybody in their 49th year is waking up in the morning and saying, today's the day I'm going to prioritize my bone health. I mean, sure, they might be taking vitamin D, they might be supplementing, they might be doing strength building exercises. And we know a lot of women who are, and that's amazing. But
Yeah.
in terms of connecting the dots to hormone therapy, not a lot of people are thinking about that yet. And that's important because
Hmm.
1 in 3 of us are going to break a bone, a wrist, a pelvis, a hip due to osteoporosis. And we have
Well,
this.
I've actually got that covered. I broke two bones. So now it's just one in two of us because I broke two. This was like 2 years ago. I'm not going to tell you how. Okay, I fell down my stairs.
Oh my goodness.
But I ended up in a cast for 4 months. And it would have broken anyway because of the way I fell. But I had also previously broken two toes, and it seemed to me like they broke a little easy. So that made me think, okay, well, I'm in my early 50s. Something's going on here. And yet, when I spoke to my doctor about it, she's like, oh, like it's a break, it's a fracture. It doesn't have anything to do with bone health. I'm like, yeah, I grew up stubbing my toes. I grew up in the 70s. I grew up barefoot. And now all of a sudden my toes are breaking. Yeah. So that is something we don't talk about. And I love that HRT, hormone replacement therapy, addresses that as well. However, to your point, perimenopause, so many women don't even know they're in perimenopause, don't know what it is. So the last thing they're going to do is Google hormone replacement therapy, right?
Yes.
This report seems to have all the findings, but it needs communication. I mean, they're
So much
communicating.
communication.
Yeah, they're
And
communicating to the physicians, but what about us going to our doctor armed with this information? Like, how can this be helpful for us?
so here's an example for our listening audience right now. We've been talking for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
That's the average length of a medical appointment.
Mm, good point.
So my fear is that this report is going to ignite a lot of women and hopefully a lot of physicians getting curious. But I see it being reduced to a conversation of, oh, Jackie, you don't have hot flashes? Okay, we're good. Check the box, on you
Exactly.
go. And that's why I was focusing in on those key benefits. So we've like opened up a bit of a floodgate, but how
Yeah.
does our system handle it? How does our culture handle it? That's the big challenge that we have.
That is going to be a big challenge. There are questions you can ask your doctor, but perhaps if, women were to look at the study at least, or even just do some research into the benefits of HRT and then look at their own symptoms or issues, maybe they can go in and say, look, I have this and I know HRT is good for, like, kind of help push that conversation. And like you said, 10 minutes is not a long time. So being
Showing up,
armed.
showing up informed. And the very first question, this is a little tongue in cheek. I'm sorry. But the very first question you should be asking your doctor is, tell me about the last continuing education you took in hormone therapy. And they're
Yeah.
likely going to say, I haven't. Your family physician is likely going to say, and the reason that I know that is, there's probably 1,000 practitioners that are certified by the North American Menopause Society. There's 124 in Canada.
Okay.
124.
All right.
We have 100,000 family physicians. 124 of them are certified by the North American Menopause Society. But I still believe in asking that question because I think it helps to establish that teamwork relationship between the woman and her primary healthcare provider. And Dr. Jerry Lynn Pryor taught me something a long time ago that I will never forget. We now live in an age where you are going to your doctor and you can assume that you know more than they do about this phase of life. One, because we have to learn to trust our intuition, but two, because women are coming to your site and my site and listening to your podcast, and they're getting the details so that
Yeah.
they can shorten that distance between 2 points.
That's great. And I love that we're doing this. And I love that we're doing this together because there are a ton of questions. There always will be. But when it comes to our health and talking to our doctor, I mean, older generations would never question their doctor's expertise.
Yeah.
And fair enough, but they were going for disease related or injury related issues where we're talking about a monumental shift in our bodies and our minds that hasn't been really greatly studied. And
Yes.
definitely, we're not seeing a lot of research or information about it unless women can seek it out. And the conversation is opening up, which I'm really happy to see. But now we have to talk to women about the questions they need to ask. And really, it's about, I think you would agree, taking your healthcare into your hands now and not taking no. And I said to my husband, if I go in and say I'm really tired all the time, I have hot flashes, like I'm gaining weight and I'm working out, my doctor is not going to talk to me about my adrenal gland or fitness over 40. She's going to say, well, you're at that age, right? But my husband can go in and say I have a sexual dysfunction issue
I
and
know.
whammo, here's your Viagra. Like,
I
you
know.
get an answer.
I know. I mean, yeah, it sometimes it's like comparing apples to oranges though. It's just different. So we have to just be get really comfortable that we matter. Our
Yeah.
name is at the top of the to-do list. He has a different endocrine system than we do. And
It's a
that's
little
great.
early for that word, right? It
Listen,
doesn't roll off the tongue,
I know, right? It's so
endocrinological.
early. Sorry.
Well, I'm glad we had this chat, and Shirley, you and I are going to keep talking.
Okay.
I love this Q&A. I think, I get a ton of questions that I keep shooting them off to you. I would rather just talk to you about them.
Okay.
So, thank you, and
Thank you.
I will post a link to the study. Um, and let's keep this conversation open about what questions women should be asking and where they can find information to take to their doctors.
Sounds good.